Chapter 278. Mahal wants answers. But also the old Mahal heard a few things about the arrangements that were made, and therefore also that his 2 daughters were awarded to Fungo Helen as wives of one man. He thus went to Agla and asked of her a better explanation. But Agla said, "Listen, dear father. On the rugged heights you should quite naturally have been asked whether your daughters may take a husband, and what kind of husband. But here there is a quite different order of things, and by virtue of it everything that the first rulers of the great empire want and determine must be right for you. But the rulers are the very man who takes your 2 daughters as wives, which is an unspeakable happiness for you and them. Then I, your daughter Agla, as queen of this city and the whole endlessly large empire, and finally Drohuit, that young, handsome man who has just had a meeting with the chief priest Fungo Helen. With these 3 rulers you must always try to be their constant and best friend, and you will, among them, have the most carefree and best life. On the contrary, although my father, you will have to endure great vexations and adversities. Therefore be silent, and show Fungo Helen how glad you are that he has chosen your daughters as wives. For through this choice also you grew in stature." When Mahal heard this from Agla, he slowly began to realize from which side the wind was blowing, and very quietly he began to scratch himself behind the ears, and said softly to Agla, "I can see very well that this is the case here, and for your sake I will put up a good face for every occasion. But tell me, what is there for the king if you, Fungo Helen, and Drohuit are the highest people in the kingdom? And what will become of my son Kisarel here?" And Agla said, "King Gurat is a weak friend of Fungo Helen, and is stupid. Therefore, he is dressed in the clothes of the king, and figures as such. But he has no power. Drohuit is the real king, and I am his wife. You thus have to listen to him and comply with everything he has to say." And Mahal further asked Agla and said, "If everything is thus arranged here, what is thus the power of God with you? Do you ever consult God?" And Agla pointed with her hand to her forehead and said, "Behold, there sits the counsel of God. This is what man has to develop and act accordingly. Then surely he acts on the counsel given to him by God for all times of times. Or do you know something better?" Here Mahal fell silent, because he now clearly realized that hell has established its rule in the depths. But Agla went to Fungo Helen and secretly talked to him about something.